When you're living in a rented apartment, the landlord increases the rent by a certain percentage every year. Flipkart seems to be doing something like this to some of the major lifestyle brands on its platform. You see, the Walmart owned e commerce giant is on an overdrive to achieve profitability because without it, it cannot realize its dreams of going public. To do this, it has tasked its category managers in fashion and lifestyle with squeezing more business out of its brand partners. In fact, Flipkart is also using its own Myntra to get better leverage with these brands. The list of brands that Flipkart is negotiating with includes Nike, Adidas, Puma, Woodland, Casio, and the Indian fashion retail giant Aditya Birla Fashion. And like all tenants, these brands are resisting. But they can only do so much because the kind of reach that Flipkart gives them is unmatched. It has a registered customer base of more than 400 million users. So, does that mean that these brands have to give in to Flipkart's demands? Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Nigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rahel Philippos and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Monday, the 15th of July. Out of all the categories on Flipkart, fashion is the one that is currently the main focus. It is the second largest vertical after electronics, and a manager at Flipkart told us that it is the one struggling to grow. And it is also where Flipkart faces the most competition. But then that begs the question, why then would fashion and lifestyle brands that have more than enough funding and many other options consider Flipkart's new demands? There are three reasons that my colleague, the Ken reporter Nuha Bubre, listed out. One, the customer base of other fashion first platforms like Myntra and Agio is concentrated in metro and tier 1 cities. Flipkart, on the other hand, taps into tier 2 and tier 3 and other smaller cities. Two, despite Meesho and Amazon being its contenders in these areas, brands have no option but to turn to Flipkart. Because while Meesho deals with 95% of the unbranded sellers, Amazon is not really considered a major player in fashion e-commerce. And number three, it has Myntra, which is known for its brand recall in fashion wear. Flipkart acquired Myntra 10 years ago, and now it has started using Myntra as bait to maintain its 27% market share lead in fashion. Now, let us understand the difference in scale between Myntra and Flipkart. Flipkart generated monthly website traffic of nearly 170 million in March 2024, and Myntra just 1/5 of that. So Flipkart wants to achieve profitability in its fashion category without consolidating its assets. Which is why, instead of competing with Myntra, Flipkart is using its name for cutting out better deals with brands. So while strategizing growth plans for the coming year, Flipkart will convince brands to choose its platform while also being on Myntra. Flipkart also plans to copy Myntra's insider program to build better relationships with its customers. It is basically a no-fee membership plan that allows customers to shop with more offers and more discounts. And all of this might just work out quite well. Flipkart and Myntra combined have a 45 to 50% market share in fashion e-commerce in India. So, Flipkart is in a position to use its sheer volume and presence to ask brands for better margins and discounts. But this overdrive might turn out to be an overkill for brands. Stay tuned to find out why. To become profitable, Flipkart needs to buy more of high margin products than before. And here is where brands and Flipkart are not seeing eye to eye. It all has to do with the cut that Flipkart takes from a product's MRP. For example, if Flipkart sells a product for 1,000 rupees, it pockets 640, leaving the rest for the brand. In April, Puma agreed to boost Flipkart's margin by 3 to 5 percentage points from around 65%. But the former Flipkart manager that spoke to us told us that Flipkart is renegotiating with the brand to increase it to 71%. Even Reebok's franchisee owner, which is Aditya Birla Fashion, was approached to raise the intake margin by 10 percentage points. But then the two settled for a 2 percentage point increase. So you see, a brand's bargaining chip depends on how big it is and whether it needs the e commerce platform more than the platform needs it. For Flipkart, smaller apparel brands do not contribute much in terms of sales. But bigger brands come with a certain level of entitlement. So, Flipkart focused on brands that contributed to over 90% of the overall sales within the fashion and lifestyle category. The ex Flipkart manager told us, for example, that international sports shoe brands like Ultra Running does not want to come to the platform to avoid paying high margins, or Hoka, which thinks that discounts dilute its brand value. So, brands have their own checklists, and just because Flipkart wants more margins, they cannot change everything. And that is probably why some brands go against Flipkart's grain. Like Nike, for example, does not list its premium products like Air Force on Flipkart, and neither does it offer discounts on Jordans. In fact, a former Nike e commerce manager told us that Myntra and Agio get more sales for the brand than Flipkart does. This also becomes a deciding factor while listing on a platform. But again, it all comes back to the sheer reach that Flipkart offers compared to its competitors in fashion. It has a registered customer base of 400 million. A Flipkart lifestyle manager explained it to us, saying that no matter how big a brand grows, it needs the backing of the platform as well. He gave the example of how brands like Spiker and Tokyo Talkies now have a revenue that is growing faster than any other established brands. And this is only because of the visibility and the scale that Flipkart has to offer. Without the marketplace backing them in terms of advertising, that kind of growth will not be possible. So naturally, Flipkart will continue to make the most of its position to hit profitability. And as for brands, they can negotiate and renegotiate, but the price of saying a complete no to Flipkart is too high.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted by Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CM.